I spent years trying to lose weight the hard way, restricting, overthinking, and being stuck in the same binge and restrict cycle over and over again. But this past year, I lost 11 kilos and I did it by changing my habits, not my entire life. So today, I want to share the 11 habits that made weight loss feel easy, or at least easier than it's ever felt before. One of the biggest things that changed everything for me was learning to do the minimum effective dose. For so long, I thought that I had to overhaul my entire life. New diet, new training, new routines, and new rules, all at the same time. But that only burned me out and pushed me right back into the binge-restrict cycle I was so used to. Now, I do just enough to see progress. Not more, not trying to do everything, but just enough. And I literally do not change anything until my progress actually stalls. Doing this leaves you with a little bit of room to play around once progress does stall. Because if you already do everything in the beginning, first of all, you burn out after 2 weeks and you can't do it consistently. But also, if progress does stall, you do not have the capacity to do more because you're doing everything already. So you either have to go really low with the amount of food that you're eating or train even more, which in turn becomes very unsustainable again. But this alone saved me from years of being overwhelmed because instead of trying to be perfect, I finally learned how to be consistent. Another habit that changed my entire fat loss journey was to listen to my hunger early, especially in the morning. I used to wait as long as possible and push my hunger down because I thought that it would help me lose more weight. But all it did was make me feel out of control with food, especially later in the day. But now, if I feel hunger early, I eat early, and I actually honor that because it keeps my appetite calm, consistent, and predictable for the rest of the day. But here's the other half of this habit. Listening to your hunger is great, but setting yourself up for success is even better. For example, if you know that you get hungry at around 10 a.m., but at 10 usually you're in a meeting or in the office and you can't really access any food at that time, that's not a failure. It just means that you need to be more practical about it. So eat before, prep before, take something with you to work, and support yourself even when you don't think you need it in that moment. You don't have to wait until you're starving to eat. You don't have to hit some imaginary perfect window. And you definitely do not have to ignore your hunger because it's not a good time or it's a bad time to eat in that moment. You're allowed to eat before you're ravenous, and you're allowed to set yourself up for success so that you don't spiral later on. Learning this literally changed everything. It made my hunger so much more predictable, and everything just felt calmer and much easier to stick to. For the longest time, I was scared to lift heavy weights because I thought that it would make me bulky, but that's really, really hard to achieve as a woman especially. And building muscle is one of the best things that you can do for yourself on a fat loss journey, but also just in general for your health. Strength training for me has completely changed my body composition, and it also makes fat loss easier because it helps your metabolism. It shapes your body in the way that most women actually want, and it will make your day-to-day life so much easier, especially once you get older and you do not have to train 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and not have any rest days, because that is very counterintuitive. I personally only strength train twice a week. I do yoga once a week on Monday, then I do a lower body on Wednesday and a full body on Friday. So you don't need a lot. You just need to be able to stay consistent. And this really is about feeling strong and not about punishing yourself or burning off calories to lose weight or anything like that, because anything that you do with that intention really only backfires. Another habit that really helped my consistency a lot was learning to build meals that actually stabilize my hunger. For me, that usually includes protein, especially at breakfast, but not like in a perfect macro kind of way, but just in a this keeps my cravings calm kind of way. So I just realized that including protein in all of my meals and really focusing on that helped with my hunger a lot. Especially at breakfast, I usually have a protein coffee or something like that. And you do not have to be scared of using protein powder to get to the goal of protein that you want. I do that too because it's not always easy to find something with enough protein, for example, 30 grams of protein for breakfast. So sometimes it really helps to use protein powder. Something I really noticed is that when my hunger becomes predictable, everything is easier. And protein helps me stabilize my hunger. And this isn't about only eating high protein and high protein dieting. It's just about making meals that work with me instead of against me. Now, I do track my calories, but it's not at the center of my whole journey. Tracking for me is just one tool in a bigger toolbox, alongside listening to my hunger and satiety cues, choosing meals that actually make me feel full, eating enough protein, and also following the 80-20 kind of guideline. But the most important thing is that I do not track out of fear anymore. I track out of awareness. It just helps me stay intentional and not obsessive. And that literally made such a big difference for me, because I used to only use tracking as my only measure of success or measure of losing weight. But if you only have that, once you take it away, you can't really figure out what your body needs anymore. So you either have to be tracking your entire life, and you can do that if you want, but that's not really what I want to do. So I wanted to include other things and other principles that I learned, especially on my intuitive eating journey, because that just makes me much more aware. And tracking calories for me, if I'm being honest, I know they're not 100% accurate all the time. The packages and things that you see, the nutritional values, they usually can be about 20% off, I think. But what helps me is that I kind of know if I am in a calorie deficit or if I'm not. Because previously, when I didn't track calories, I might have gone over my calories even though I was eating healthy or healthy foods. But if you eat more than what you burn, you will not lose weight. So tracking just helps me know if I am under or over, so that if I'm not in a deficit, I don't wonder why I'm not losing weight, but I know that it's because I'm not actually in a deficit. And if I am in a deficit and I'm still not losing weight, then at least I can reassess and look at what to change, figure that out. Because if you don't know how much you're actually eating, you can't really adapt your plan and figure out what you're doing quote unquote wrong. So that's what has helped me. But the most important thing is that it's not the only tool, because that can really quickly become obsessive. And I have days or even weekends sometimes where I don't track anything at all or just eyeball some things. So that's just the most important thing, that you know to listen to your hunger, how to have other things beyond counting calories, so that when you take it away, or even during the process, it's just a lot more enjoyable. Also, I used to force myself to eat weight loss meals I didn't even like. And of course, I couldn't stay consistent, because who could? Now I have a small rotation of meals that I genuinely enjoy, maybe 5 or 6. And I always try to keep those ingredients on hand, have them in the fridge. And over time, those meals become mindless to make, to eat. It's just part of your routine, and then they're just comfortable, they're easy. You don't need 50 recipes that you have perfected to be able to eat healthy or be able to lose weight. You just need a handful of meals that feel good to you, that you can rotate between, because I totally understand that you do not want to eat the same thing every single day. I would not want that either. But the thing that we do want is having a few meals that you have perfected, in the sense that you can make them almost mindlessly. So you can just do them very quickly, very mindlessly, and you basically feel like you don't have to think about putting ingredients in and really cooking, because that's just exhausting. Continuing on the kind of trend of me eating weight loss foods that I didn't even enjoy, one thing that changed everything for me was that your meals should be at least a 7 out of 10 on the satisfaction scale. Not perfect, not gourmet or anything like that, but just satisfying enough that you do not feel deprived or are constantly thinking about what else you can eat. Because usually what I noticed, that if I just ate plain salad without dressing like some people do. Or, I don't know, the most simple thing ever that I didn't even enjoy that much because I wanted to eat as little as possible or not use up too many calories. That's exactly when later in the day I would have cravings and want to eat something else. But because I actually made my meals satisfying and I liked them, the frequency of my cravings went down so much because of this. So you do not have to suffer through meals that you do not like to lose weight. In fact, it's the opposite. The more satisfying you do make your meals, the easier fat loss and weight loss becomes. One of the biggest mindset shifts that has to do with the previous point I mentioned as well is that food isn't either good or bad. If eating an unhealthy food and adding that to something nourishing actually makes you want to eat that nourishing thing, the unhealthy food is actually a healthy choice. So let me explain. For example, you do not like plain Greek yogurt. You would never eat it. You hate it. It's gross and you just do not want it. So what if you would, instead of just having plain Greek yogurt, you would add maybe a banana, maybe some granola on top, maybe some chocolate chips even. But you wouldn't usually do that because you're like, no, chocolate chips are unhealthy, granola is unhealthy or whatever. But you would eat that nourishing like yogurt bowl if you add those things. Then adding granola and adding chocolate chips is actually a healthy choice. You can in fact mix the two. You do not have to swing like a pendulum and having either only unhealthy foods or only healthy foods, because that was me. I either was perfectly healthy and trying to only eat quote-unquote healthy things, but then I would swing back and binge and only eat unhealthy foods. And in my mind, it just was not connecting that I could actually eat those two together. Because if I intentionally put unhealthy foods into my day-to-day routine, I wouldn't always swing back and forth between the two, but I would just kind of be in the middle and consistent. And that's what we want. That's the whole point of this, is being consistent. Because the biggest habit, the biggest change that you have to make is being consistent, finding things that make you consistent. So pairing a cookie with a yogurt, that is not cheating on your meal plan. That's normal. That's normal life. That's something that you can integrate and continue to do for your whole life. And that's what we want. Because once those foods are not forbidden anymore and you just include them in your everyday life, that's when you don't binge on them anymore, because they're not forbidden anymore. I used to throw away whole days, whole weeks, whole months because of one single moment. One snack, one dinner, one craving. And now I just keep going. No restarting, no guilt, no punishment. Because having this all or nothing mentality of eating one thing that you couldn't have eaten and then being like, oh, well, it doesn't matter anymore. That just makes everything that you've worked for before lose its value. It's hard because if you're in a binge-restrict cycle, that's exactly what happens. You binge, you feel guilty about it. You might not even want to continue because you're like, well, it doesn't even matter anymore. But it does matter. And this isn't easy. This is more so a mindset thing than anything else. But doing all of the habits that I was mentioning before will help you a lot with this habit of not trying to restart every Monday, or of not trying to throw away everything that you've done, because those moments of eating out of your plan or out of what you expected will happen a lot less because they're not forbidden. Once you start seeing those moments as it's just part of life, and okay, at the moment they might be happening a lot, but the more you consistently allow yourself to eat, the more you integrate foods that were previously forbidden into your day-to-day life, the less moments of, oh my gosh, I feel so out of control, will actually happen. And once I stopped starting over, that's when my progress actually started. Another very important habit for me is that I do not rely on a motivation anymore, because motivation is a feeling and feelings do not last. Starting with motivation is amazing. If you're motivated, start. Do not wait. But don't expect it to be there all the time and only do things when you are motivated to do them. So now I rely on systems, and honestly, they've made everything easier. For me, systems look like easy meal rotations that I mentioned before, so don't have to think about them. Grocery staples, so I always know what to get. Preset workout days really helped me a lot to stay consistent with working out. And having the preset workout days is important, but it's also important to know exactly what you're going to do in the gym, because that leaves the guessing out of it. You go, you do your thing, and you come back. That's it. Then a flexible calorie target, because life happens and it's better to have a range of where you want to get to than having a fixed number. Then a protein coffee ready to go in the morning, knowing that I'm going to have enough protein and I'm going to feel satiated at least till lunch. And routines that help me support my life and my goals without really needing any willpower. It's also about setting up my environment so that the habits that I do want are the easiest ones to follow. When your kitchen, your habits, and your routines are all set up in a way to support you, everything becomes just so much easier. And on the days where motivation disappears, because trust me, that will happen, my systems and my environment are what carries me, because those days actually matter the most. And the last habit is actually going slower, much slower than you think you need to. I stopped trying to lose weight really fast. I gave myself time to heal, time to learn, and time to get consistent. Because yes, 6 months, a year, it sounds like a long time, but that time is gonna pass anyways. And if you spend the next 4 weeks trying to chase another quick fix, another quick diet, in maybe 8 weeks, you're gonna be back where you started. But if you actually try to do something sustainable, that yes, it's going to take a year till you maybe get to the point that you want, but this is something that you're going to do for the rest of your life anyways. So what is 1 year in the rest of your life? For me, it finally clicked when I started understanding that I have to slow down to get the results that I actually want. So when I finally stopped chasing extremes and doing everything at once, everything became more doable and fat loss actually felt possible. I learned that fat loss does not have to be miserable. You do not have to punish yourself to get to the results you want. You can take care of yourself and still move towards your goals. And I do want to be honest, these habits did not come to me overnight. They came one by one, slowly, through mistakes, through healing, and through all of the times that I started again. So if you're in a place where everything feels hard or inconsistent, I hope that this video showed you that you do not have to transform everything at once to see progress. You just need small habits that make your life that little bit easier. And these were the 11 habits that helped me lose 11 kilos, slowly, sustainably, and in a way that actually fits my life. If you want to see these habits in a real day, I actually filmed a What I Eat in a Day, where I show you exactly what I eat in a day to lose weight. So I hope this helped you, and I hope that I see you in my next video. Bye!